Today we are reviewing Digimon Survive, the long-awaited, most recent Digimon game entry that superbly blends visual novel and tactical RPG gameplay into one fun, replayable package. Now we all have our own perspective on games, but for a series like Digimon and a genre like a visual novel, you are going to get some very hardcore fans. And this review is going through my own perspective. Now I'm someone who has not really played visual novels before, and I am a Digimon fan of course, but I've only really gotten back into the series recently, and it had really been a while before that since I was a Digimon fan, so in a sense I feel quite new to both main aspects of this game, and I do feel that this is a great jumping off point for someone who's looking to get into Digimon, visual novels or tactical RPGs. First I want to give a huge shout out to Bandai Namco Australia as they provided a review copy of this game, and I'll let you know that I'm not going to be mentioning anything past the start of chapter 5 in this review in speech or visuals, so you know, some early game spoilers apply, but that's it. Now Digimon Survive is a visual novel first and foremost, melded with a tactical battle RPG as I said earlier. The game has an expansive and interesting shonen horror story weaved throughout, and that includes a lot of text heavy scenes, visual exploration and choosing the path that's right for you through a karma system. The theme of the story is actually quite implicit in the title, Survive. But as you'd hope and expect with a monster taming game, the monsters have a tendency to want to beat the crap out of each other, and those segments are handled in an isometric grid-based tactics battle system. The battle sections feature enough tactical scenarios and mechanics that although you can kind of blunt force your way through at the start, when it comes to the end game you've really got to think about how your team is put together. Both the tactical battle RPG sections and the visual novel sections blend together to tell the story, and that's what the game is in total. And since the visual novel aspects of the game are more dominant, and when I say more dominant I mean it's about 70% of the game, that's where we're going to start. I want to kick this section off by saying the game does visual atmosphere very well. The landscapes and areas that you explore are all very gorgeous, showing off lush forests and hills equally as well as dank caves, shrines and broken schools. You're going to be looking at it a lot, so this is quite good. The way the characters are displayed and the camera swings around to them is great and gives the impression that you're flicking through a picture book. The characters do very clearly express their emotions, and the images are reused quite a lot, but I mean that's just good image asset management, isn't it? Surely. I've seen some funny criticism about the characters looking like they've come out of a PNG editor, and well, so what? They're doing their job well, they're conveying the story properly, and that's really what you want from a visual novel, is conveying the story. Yes, it's text heavy, yes, it's picture heavy, but that's what a visual novel is. The story is progressed through text, image and music, blending seamlessly to create tense atmosphere and really make you fear for what happens next. The horror and thriller elements come at good timings, and whilst at times it is predictable, overall it is a fair bit darker than I expected. There was a part of me that genuinely wondered if they were going to kill any characters off, and well, the characters are fleshed out enough but do seem to suffer a bit from sticking to some basic traits. There's nothing overly complex in character development for the most part, but the slow yet constant trickle of development does feel rewarding overall. And there are parts of the stories where a character's acting in one way and like endangering the entire group or endangering themselves, and you're just like, would you stop? You wouldn't do that in real life. But then it's not a Digimon Survive specific problem now, is it? That happens in a lot of different storytelling media. So it's just kind of annoying to see it in this, but it happens, and it doesn't really diminish for the story, so for the most part I really enjoyed the story that Survive weaved. Regarding the visual novel gameplay, there are exploration sections where you speak to allies, inspect elements in the area you're in and scan them in with your phone to find weird digital disturbances hiding goodies, background information and extra battles galore. This point and click exploration is fun and fine, although it does slow down the storytelling and the gameplay just a little bit, and it is kind of frustrating to see Takuma, the main character, continually tell yourself, well, should I look around here, or maybe I should look around here, and it's like, yes, that is the point of this section. Doing it in chapter 1 and chapter 2 is fine, it should not be doing it near the mid and end game. I really enjoyed the social link-esque free time sections where you have a choice of what to do, who to talk to and what to say. You can increase your affinity with other characters, which can help unlock additional digivolutions for them as well as yield more items to help progress through the game. Affinities deepen your relationship with specific characters and this helps shape your story. The same with karma. There are 3 main karma types: moral, harmony and wrath. These impact the digivolution of your Agumon, which is really cool, and also influence the end of the story. And that is fantastic for replayability. That means that you've got multiple different endings to this game. In fact, I think there are actually 5 different endings to the game, which is really cool to note. It's pretty simple to see what answers get which karma as well, so if you want to find all the endings, it is pretty simple. The visual novel and create your own adventure aspects work really well in my opinion, which is great considering how much of the game this takes up. And I figure now is a decent decent time to point out that it suits the Nintendo Switch really well, as you can save and load the game at almost any point between battles, so drop in and out is easy. You can also save scum really easily. You can save a dialogue choice, and then if you don't get the affinity that you want, you can just reload and go back in. Super simple, nice and easy. It impacts the battling side as well by creating different team compositions, so each playthrough handles quite differently, which is a treat. Now let's look at those battles, since they're a fun and crucial aspect of Digimon Survive. So I played a bunch of Fire Emblem growing up, so I am familiar with tactical battle RPGs, although a lot of people say this is closer to Digital Devil Survivor. Essentially, you have your team on the grid, and your opponents are there as well. You'll have different objectives, like defeat all of the enemies or survive a certain amount of attacks. Then you move and attack in different tactical positions. There are plenty of aspects to look into and consider as well. Do you have a type advantage over the opponent? How much SP do you have left? Can you physically get above the enemy? What side are you attacking them from? Does attacking one enemy leave you open to attack from another? There are a lot of different things to consider, and it makes you think about your team composition pretty well, especially if you want to beat the bosses easily or get all the items on the field as well as complete your objectives. You can even recruit Digimon on the battlefield in the free battles, which is cool, answering questions based on their personalities akin to Shin Megami Tensei. You can get a lot of the more well-known Digimon through this method, which is a lovely touch for some of the older fans of the series. The battle grids are quite wide, and it can take a few turns to really get to your opponents, which is of course part of the tactical strategy, but equally does cause frustration when an opponent continually runs away from you. There is enough potential depth here to warrant its own game outside of Survive in my opinion. Selecting appropriate gear, teams, using stat up items and outmaneuvering opponents is class, but a little bit easy at times. I think the game would do well to have a higher difficulty option than what is currently available for the more hardcore tactics fans. Overall, I found battling quite engaging, if a little far and few between at the start of the game. There was really like an hour break between the first and second battles, which was a little frustrating to feel. Luckily, there are plenty of free battles available that you can jump into from Chapter 2, so you can really sate your thirst for those battles if you like it. Unfortunately, between the simplicity of the fights and the not massive variety of Digimon that you can fight in the free battles, I don't think the battling side really reaches the absolute potential that it has. I think it would work really well on its own, and honestly, a bit more variety in the battles as far as objectives and actual enemy Digimon go would probably have cured this for me. The battle side is also where you see most of the performance issues of the game on the Nintendo Switch version. There is noticeable slowdown on menus and with certain attacks. Some of the bigger and more impressive attacks with particle effects chug in comparison to the rest of the game. Getting through the end battle menus and level up notifications slows down as well, and there is a clear frame rate difference between the normal fights and the Digivolution animations. It's a real shame because a lot of the game is really well optimized, and it's really easy to navigate and stuff like that, and there's no problems, but the battle side really does not have the same optimization level. The thing to note here, of course, though, is that this is not game-breaking in any way, shape or form. I wouldn't even say it spoils the experience. Even in handheld mode, it's not too much of a problem and it still plays really well. I wouldn't be able to comment on other versions of the game, like the PlayStation versions or the Xbox versions, because I haven't tried them out myself, but if you could let me know in the comments how they perform, that'd be great. So we have the visual novel aspects of the game and the tactical battles. Do they work well together? For me, it's a resounding yes. I love how the story is fleshed out in the visual novel sections and how you can really get in depth with it, and it leaves a lot of the action to be viewed for itself in the tactical battles. Having all these different Digimon with their varying attributes really lends itself to this type of battle system, and the selection of Digimon that is here is really good. There are a lot of monsters here that are new to me, but also some familiar ones that I was excited to fight, like Miramon, Ikakumon and such. The two styles of game complement each other really well to tell a good story, although I will say the graphical stylings can be quite jarring next to each other. The visual novel side, as I've said, is gorgeous. The same can't really be said for the battles, where it goes for function over style, it would seem. The human character sprites are really ugly in my opinion, but that is definitely a subjective take there. Graphics aside, of course, I do think that these game styles work really well together. It doesn't sound like they'd be complementary, but they really truly are in practice. And I would love to see more of this type of game, whether it's the blend or whether Digimon has full visual novel or full tactical battle RPG, or other franchises do something similar to Survive. I'm not going to say the P word in this review, but I do think that series in particular would do really well with this sort of game. And since I clearly want other series to take on this type of game, I think that's telling enough that I would recommend people play it. Digimon Survive is an atmospheric visual novel with some fantastic tactical battles thrown in around it, with a huge focus on story, environment and characters making the bulk of the game. It is very different to other Digimon titles, and whilst I recognise this is not for everyone, I've personally really enjoyed my time with the game. This game introduced me to what is normal in a visual novel really well, and I think this is a great first time visual novel for someone who's curious curious about this type of game. If you're new to tactical titles, this is pretty simple, and if you're new to Digimon, it again explains it really well. I think this is a fantastic entry route into any of those 3 types of game. The only reason I would really tell you not to play this game is if you've already tried something like it. You've tried visual novel, you've tried Digimon, you've tried tactics, and you hate it. If you don't like any of those aspects and you already know it, don't bother with Digimon Survive, because that's pretty much all it is. But if you're not one of those people who knows that they hates this style of gameplay, then I really recommend Digimon Survive. And it's really replayable as well. There are so many different endings and different things that you can do in the story. Different choices affect it, and it actually feels like they affect it, which is amazing. So yeah, give it a go. You get attached to your characters easily, and they're fun to be around and learn more about. And it's really great getting a powerful Ultimate and Mega Digimon to wreck your opponents. But most importantly, the game's story flows well and is a rewarding, engaging experience. There are various performance issues that I've mentioned and some questionable battle AI to fight at times, but it's never really enough to outright detract from the experience and make you want to put the game down. Digimon Survive is a solid game to play, and if you manage to find a copy, I really recommend picking it up, especially for Nintendo Switch. It really suits the drop-in, drop-out handheld style that the Switch can do. So that's my review of Digimon Survive. Thank you so much for hanging out for this review, and sorry it got delayed. This was meant to be out at the start of August, and then a lot of stuff happened, so it is what it is. But I hope it's answered your questions and given you something to think about if you want to pick up Digimon Survive in the coming months. Have you already got it? Are there things that I've particularly missed? And how is the performance on other consoles? Please let me know in the comments, of course, and make sure you hit subscribe for more Digimon content coming soon. I've got some other stuff planned, which is fantastic. Now, if you want to check out this video, I've got a few early game tips for those who are going to be playing it. I think it's really, really worth your time. Give it a go, and thank you so much.